Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in the room today. We just had a wonderful conversation with actress Callie Cooke.
Yeah, we spoke about everything from how she got into acting, graduating from drama school, from her work at the Hampstead with director Edward Hall, then her time on film sets, some advice from people like Maxine Peake and Dominic Cooper. Really, it was a brilliant chat. So we'll crack on with that in just a second. But while you're here, we'd like to ask if you could kindly subscribe to our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, leave a review, engage with us on social media. We are actually quite nice people, aren't we, Christian? We're all right.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
sometimes.
sometimes we're all right. So that would really help us out. It would be hugely appreciated. And yeah, without further ado, here we are in the room with Callie Cooke. Callie Cooke, you are in the room with us. How are you feeling today?
Hello, I am feeling good, thank you. Yeah, how are you guys?
Yeah, not bad.
We are
How
doing
are you doing,
amazing,
Christian? You
thank you.
good?
I'm feeling great.
Good.
Good.
And
Yes.
just first things first, what we want to cover is Callie has kindly decided to give up some of her time and knowledge this evening while she is out filming. So she's taken her time out of her busy schedule to come talk to us.
Cool.
So thank you so much for that. First of all, we hugely appreciate that.
Oh, I mean, I don't know about knowledge, but yeah, any time.
Thanks, Callie. Callie, we like to start our podcasts by asking our guests how they ended up working in this crazy industry.
Mhm.
So can you just tell us a bit about like what your journey was like leading up to going to drama school and pursuing acting professionally?
Yeah. I mean, nothing really very glamorous or exciting. I mean, I grew up in like Leicestershire, Northamptonshire, and I think I was pretty lucky where I grew up at the time where there was still loads of free school clubs. Like, I mean, it's quite sad that probably most of them don't exist anymore. But yeah, I went to school at the time where basically everything was free. And so I did, both my parents worked full time jobs. So I did every possible activity. I went to like breakfast club, after school club, evening club. Like, I did every club. And one of them was drama club. And I think, I mean, it was your pretty standard. I think we just played games for an hour. But I just remember I really liked making people laugh and I liked being laughed at. And I sort of did it from there. And I think the first sort of moment I maybe thought about it was this is a really boring example. But I was in like year 5 and they were doing a play. I think they were doing A Christmas Carol for the year 6s, and I was the only year 5 that got a part in it. So I was pretty big. I was pretty big deal back then. And I think that was and like my entire family came to watch this play. And it was the first time I ever did a play. And yeah, I think it was the first time that I sort of found my niche. And then yeah, I had a pretty normal journey into it. I just did every Saturday, Sunday. I went to drama clubs. Again, yeah, I mean, the one I went to was actually completely free. I don't think until I got older we paid a penny to study, drama classes. And then yeah, got to 18 and luckily I had one teacher, not at school. School were not very helpful. But I had one teacher at my Saturday class that was like, you can do this. And then here I am.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Amazing.
It's the way
Yeah.
you said it, having things that were available and free to you. How that's just not a thing
Yeah,
anymore. How the arts are just not given
isn't
enough
it?
attention financially. And well, let's avoid getting political. But it's great that you had that opportunity. And
It is sad though, yeah. I mean, I didn't even, my parents, both worked. We didn't even grow up mega, mega working class, but I mean, everything was free. And like, I was in a small school. I even remember going to youth club. I'm not even that old, I swear, but I remember going to youth club on like Friday night and everything was free. I mean, it is sad that they don't exist anymore, but Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
what we'll do is we'll skip to just as you finished art said, because you were the year above us when we were at drama school, so we got to see all
Yeah.
your productions, which was just brilliant. It was so brilliant as a second year actor to watch your guys' productions. I remember them really clearly, and
Oh.
while there is an element of right time, right person to it, you had probably the most ideal transition from drama school third year into the industry. Like, you signed with a huge
Mm.
agent at Curtis Brown, and you went straight into paid professional work. On reflection, can you pin down how that all happened? Are there any tips you can share for recent or impending graduates to help give them the best start in the industry?
I mean, if I'm honest, it was
Mm,
sheer luck. Like, I mean, you guys will remember, and we won't go into it too much, but I think when we were at ArtSed, the school was definitely
mm,
changing. I think, people were getting more interested in us. Not to, put shade on other years, but I remember watching, years older than me, and I was a bit confused by the whole thing. But I think for our year, for your year, the year below you, like, things started to change a little bit. I mean, I won't lie, what helped us is that obviously one of the actors in our year, she got nominated for an Olivier while we were third years. So I think, like, we got more exposure than we would have. But it's all about getting lucky and getting people to come
mm,
see you. I think for me, again, yeah, like you said, I got super lucky with my first play, when I did Harvest, and then I think, I just picked the right showcase
mm,
scene. Like, I was back and forth for ages, and I mean, some of my friends did the most amazing performances in the most beautiful scenes, but it just wasn't the right scene for them. And, like, I think that's how it comes. It's such a sort of, tiny thing, but it can be so. I remember actually speaking to my agent about it, months later down the line, and she was like, I want to see. She was like, I have, actors who can play mums, or, going through a divorce, or like all these things. She's like, I want to see you play a 17-year-old girl, because that's what I'm looking for in a graduate. Unless, there's something more to your casting than that, and there's something very specific to your casting, then obviously that's what you should focus on. Um, but yeah, I think I just got lucky. I don't know if you remember, I did Britannia Waves the Rules
yeah.
by Gareth Farr.
Yes.
And I was literally playing this gobby 17-year-old girl from Blackpool, just chatting a bit of shit. And I mean, that was all it took, really. And she could just look at it and be like, yeah, I can pick you up and I can slot you into the industry. And I mean, yeah, I got super lucky with my first job. So I don't want to say it is all luck, but a lot of mine was luck, and it was just right
Yeah, that's
timing,
really
because
interesting.
I don't actually really think there's any logic
No,
to
but you
it.
say that with the
Yeah.
showcase scenes. I think that's a really interesting point, that you say that people picked these great scenes, gave amazing performances, but it wasn't what agents were looking for. And you're so right, because agents aren't going
Yeah.
there to, if they watch some great acting, obviously that's awesome. And, you've got to be a good actor to get signed. There's no doubt about it. But it's about just showing your casting
Mhm.
type. And as you said, all you did was play a 17-year-old gobby girl from Blackpool. You didn't need to have the big climax scene in a
Yeah.
play. You didn't need to show a huge amount of emotional range. You just went, this
Yeah.
is what I can do. If you want that, sign me. And it clearly
Mhm.
worked.
And I get why people do the big scenes, though, because again, I'm trying to be really careful what I say, because I don't want to slag off drama school. That's a different podcast. But like, people got stirred into, the bigger picture and making us have a really good showcase with really good scenes. So other people suffered at that because, they wanted a few, epic, dramatic couple going through divorce, or like,
Mm,
uh, a couple losing their child. And I mean, not to be, but at the moment, we're 2021, that is not stuff we can relate to. Like, that's
mm,
not stuff we should have been showing. But I get why people got pushed into doing that, because again, they delivered amazing performances. But an agent is looking at that and they're like, I've already got a 27-year-old who can play a woman who's lost
Mm.
their baby. Or, like, I know it sounds really fickle, but
no, no, no,
in
you're
that
right.
moment, I think it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk a bit about Firebird, actually, your professional debut, playing the role of
Yeah.
Tia at the Hampstead Theatre. So it was a play about child sex abuse ring in Rochdale back in 2012. I was
Mm.
really curious, how do you approach such dark material as an actor and access them kind of emotions you need to play a part like that and then sustain it night after night through a sustained run?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it took a toll until I finished it, I think.
Mm.
I mean, I had the best time on that job, even though I literally went through hell and back on stage every night. I think I honestly, I've never had more energy. I slept really well. I think I loved,
You earned it.
obviously because we'd been at drama school for 2 years. Yeah, like we had no sleep and we were like, we were there at 7:30 and getting home at 9 or whatever at drama school. But then obviously I went straight into the play and I've never had so much sleep. I love the starting at 5 p.m. sort of life. So I did sleep a lot. I also had a lot of help. Like, that's one thing that you don't really realize until you start working professionally. Like, you get a lot of help. I do think, again, not to slag off drama school, I do think drama school just pushes you too hard. And then when you actually start working professionally, you're like, oh, it's actually, the jobs are hard, but I'm being so much more well looked after. Um, but yeah, it was intense. I think, yeah, when I stopped the job, I got really ill because I was just, I mean, I'd never work at the National because I just wrecked my voice after like the first week. Basically, everything I'd learned just went out the window because adrenaline just took over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very intense. It was it
That's
was a long
really
time.
interesting that you said about how you think drama school almost pushes people too hard. Do you think, because in my opinion, it's almost a thing of there's a mythology about drama school that you almost need to be pushed so hard because that's what drama school is. So I feel like some drama schools go, okay, well, we have
Yeah,
to do that then because that's what drama school is. Otherwise, if we don't do that, they'll go, well, what is this? Easy.
yeah. I look back and people are going to not agree with me, but I just think it's bollocks, so much of it. Like, what are we doing? Like, we were actually talking about this the other day and we were remembering, do you remember when we did Someone Who Watched Over Me? And I'm like, I got kidnapped in the middle of my day and like
Yeah.
blindfolded, and my friend fed me yogurt with his hand. And I'm like, how is any of this going to help me? And it's like, like, obviously I've been fortunate enough to learn on the job and work. And don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for drama school because God knows where I'd be without it. But there are so many things where I'm just like, how did any of that help us? And I think, I mean, I did leave 5 years ago. I'm sure it's very different now because I do think people are catching on to a bit of the
Or maybe they're
wankiness of
still
it all.
force feeding people petit falou. I don't really know. That
But that's exactly what happened. We were literally texting about it the other day, like, what the hell was going on? Like, why did we think that would help it? And the teacher's like,
yeah,
yeah,
love
love
it,
it. And
love
I'm
the
like,
yogurt.
what?
Yeah.
Such bullshit.
That's so weird as well because I'd forgotten about Someone Will Watch Over Me, probably because of my
Yeah.
I had.
horrific Irish accent that I was attempting to do in a first year with I played the Irish guy. It was oh
Yes,
god.
did
No,
I.
let's move on. Let's move on. I'd love to
Yeah,
talk
sorry,
about
that's a different one.
your working relationship with Edward Hall, who was the artistic director of
Yeah,
Hampstead at the time, because you've gone on to then act in two more plays directed by him. So it was Filthy Business and The Strange Death of John Doe. And as well as he
yeah.
directed Blithe Spirit when you played a role in that film.
Mhm.
Having a working relationship like that with the director of his caliber, I mean, that's an asset to any actor. How did you go about
Yeah.
developing that relationship when you started with Firebird? And what about the way he directs do you think it makes you two a good fit?
Yeah, it is mad how that happened. Yeah, it's mad how you meet these people and you're like, you're my person. Firebird was honestly, it was sort of like fate. Like, I'd been sort of manifesting that I wanted to do something like that for a long time. And it was always the sort of stuff I was interested in. And then I remember the connection is a little bit mad between the people that I don't know, we were all sort of connected before we even knew each other. And I remember my agent pushing it because I think I started Firebird in August, and I mean we left Arts Ed that summer. So I think I was auditioning while I was at Arts Ed. And I remember at first my agent was pushing me and they kept saying no because they were like, we're going to actually go for, maybe a 15-16-year-old. And then they came back and obviously realized it was far too heavy for a
Yeah.
15-year-old to try and carry. And then I met with him once and like we just sort of, it sounds creepy, but I promise it's not. We just like fell in love. And then I like left. I was walking out the audition and I got a phone call and they're like, they want you to go back in. And I went back in like a week later, and I read with another actor who was playing another role. And then literally, honestly the first and last time it's ever happened. And I left the room, and 10 minutes later they offered me the job. And then it's so hard because on paper, he was the wrong person to direct that show, this 50-year-old white man from Streatham got inside the head of a 14-year-old girl from Rochdale. I can't even explain it. And he's so clever, and he's one of those directors. Maybe it's because, we're all a bit self-indulgent, but he's one of those directors that loves everything you do. Even if it's the wrong thing, he just is having the best time. And like, he'll laugh at everything you say, so you just think you're hilarious. But yeah, I think as well, not to sound wanky, because of Firebird was what it was, we went through something together, I think. And it was my first job. I spent my graduation day with him, and like, it was his first downstairs play at the Hampstead, so it was his first like intimate. And he's never done, he's famous for doing like Chariots of Fire, like big, Sunny Afternoon, like he does big shows. And it was just very intimate, and like, we had a reaction that we never thought we would have. Like, there was tiny things that happened that just would blow our minds all the time. Like, I remember when we transferred to the West End, we streamed it. And so they spent 2 days basically shooting. They spent 2 days shooting 2 of the shows, and then they like got all the different shots and edited it together. And then at the end of the 2 days, me and Ed both got an email from the entire camera crew just saying that they'd like to donate their fee to the Children's Society because of what they'd seen, and they were so affected by it. And like it was tiny things, and we met a lot of victims, we met a lot of charity workers. So I think we just went on something quite special together. And then we stayed. I look after his dog when he goes on holiday. Like, we just stayed really close, and like, everything has just been at the right time, I think, when we've worked together. I mean, I hope we do again. He's into, obviously he doesn't work at the Hampstead anymore, so he's directing a lot of telly now. So I hope we do again. But it's so nice. But again, not to sound sort of a bit lovey, but it almost happens with most people you spend that much time with. I think if you're with the right people doing the right job, it's really hard not to sort of keep that connection with them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to form that sort of special relationship when you go through something like that as
Also,
well.
I think it's so important because it takes them off their pedestal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always think the best way to learn about our industry is I know it's a catch-22 because like getting in it is the hard part. But once you do, the more time you spend with these people, you realize that like they have very little power, and also it takes them off the pedestal that drama school puts them on.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pedestals and things, you've worked on stage productions and on big scale things, whether that be the West End or Sky, Netflix, the list goes on. And there's a huge amount of pressure on actors, and lots of nerves going on when you go onto the set. And I think, maybe taking them off the pedestal allows you to go onto the set and just do what you do and be in the moment. And what advice would you have for actors going onto set for the first time? Because it's a lot of pressure that we don't really have to deal with at drama school.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one because I wouldn't say go in and be all cool about it, because I mean, like, filming especially is magical. And like, I've done a few jobs now on TV, and I still find it magical. So like, you don't want to lose that. Like, so my first screen job was Britannia, and I will never forget, like, I was in the middle of nowhere in the Czech Republic, and I walked in. I think my first like week was this massive like Tree of Life sequence, and basically everything was fake, and they'd built the biggest, most amazing tree I've ever seen. And then basically like the Romans charge in and blow the whole thing up and set everything on fire. And I was so nervous. I had such imposter syndrome, like everything. I was feeling all the feelings that we all feel. I was so mesmerized by the magic of like movie making, and like just that you never think you're actually going to see it. I don't know. It's very hard because I would argue to hold on to the sort of nerves of being on a big job, because I do think a little bit of imposter syndrome can help, because I'm never not grateful, I think, for where I am. Like, don't get me wrong, you get used to things, and you get less scared and you get more relaxed, and I enjoy my time a lot more. I think Firebird was different because that was like a life-changing experience, but I found at the beginning filming really exhausting because I was so nervous all the time.
Mm.
And like I wouldn't even leave my trailer to go and get a cup of tea if I was in my trailer for 6 hours. I know, first world problems, but like just little things would like really stress me out. But I would say again, catch-22, because if you play a bigger part, you get to spend more time on the set and you get to know everyone really well, and it's like your family. So it's really hard to find the balance, but I would hold on to the nerves. I think they've helped
I'd
me.
love to ask
Yeah.
if you can pin it down, what goes through your mind the couple of seconds between them, checking sound speed and all that type of stuff, just before you start a scene? What's going through your head then? Because it's really interesting. Because for me, I really struggle to just key in with what I'm doing at that moment. I go, oh my God,
Mm,
have I somehow magically moved off my mark by 5 meters, even though I've stood dead still? What is going through your head? If you can, does it vary?
yeah.
Actors Coaching International are offering 20% discount on their acting classes for In The Room listeners. Go to actorscoachinginternational.com and put INROOM20 in the discount code, or email hello@actorsci.com.
I'll be honest, not much. Yeah, I mean, there's been very few times where I've been really in what I'm doing because filming is so weird. Like your day is so broken up. So I've just done a job actually. It's called Rules of the Game. It's a BBC One drama. It actually just got announced, so we can talk
Woohoo.
about that. And that's the first thing where I've had proper, like, it's about this workplace and historical abuse. So it's heavy. It's really heavy. So that's the first job I've done where I've had like really long days of hefty dialogue. And I would say maybe 60% of the time in that job, when they're about to say action, I'm thinking about what I'm doing. But I'll be totally honest, never. Like I'm never thinking about what I'm doing. I'm always thinking about like what I'm supposed to be saying, where the camera is. I mean, I think actors would be lying if they were like they're in it all the time. There's so much going on and there's so many jobs and people have so much to do that's much more important than actors, that we just literally have to turn up, stay the line, stand quite still. But you learn it as you go. And I mean, I'm going to sound, people will disagree with me, but it's pretty easy. Like filming it's not that deep. Like we get paid stupid money to do very little work. I mean, the hours are long, but I mean, I don't really think it's that taxing at all on what we have to do. And yeah, I think people would be lying if they're like, yeah, I'm in it all the time, because I definitely zone out. I know
No,
it's
I
really
agree with you
bad.
because
No, it's
I
just
think if
honest.
everyone was honest, then we'd all come to that same conclusion. But I think
Yeah, because you beat yourself up if you don't. If you do a scene and you're like, "Oh, I didn't really feel that," you'd beat yourself up. But it's nearly impossible. Like there is so much stuff going on. I think when you're doing like intimate scenes or emotional scenes, you get a little bit more space from like crew, and you get maybe a little bit more time. And on my last few jobs, I've had a bit of rehearsal, which is basically just blocking. But I mean, yeah, it's really not that deep. I mean, it's the best job in the world. I don't know why people get so stressed about it.
well,
I remember Joaquin Phoenix saying that he was, when he was on the set of The Joker, he said there was a lot of the time he wasn't in it, and then the few moments that he was in it, they just happened to capture with the camera.
Exactly that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about
Sorry,
no,
Matt.
no, about what you do before you turn up, because while the content changes from job to job over time, and because I don't think it really happens at drama school because it's all fake projects, as it were. It's great for trying things, but I don't think you really know what works for you till you
Mm.
leave. And we develop our own sort of method approaching a role. I don't want to be like all wanky and be like, well, what's your method? But in your experience, what is the work that you must do before you turn up to set or rehearsals? And what things do you find unnecessary or of little benefit that you've tried before?
Um. Well, look, if I'm honest, I'm still very much in the phase where I have to take the jobs that come to me. I only just quit my non-acting job, like at the beginning of this year. So I've still, even though I've been super lucky the last maybe 2 years, and I have gone from job to job, but I've just taken sort of what's landed from an audition. Yeah, my last few jobs, I have had a rehearsal week, which has been helpful. I'm honestly a terrible actor because I really don't do much work. No, that's wrong. I do work. Like, I mean, you guys know I worked really hard at drama school, and like I took it really seriously, and I'm really punctual. But I mean, other than that, I just like to piss about and have fun, and I'll always know my lines. But I think with a screen job, I'll try and learn everything. Just because you get home so late and you get your call sheet so late, you go to bed like 10 minutes before you get your call sheet. So I would say what I do is learn lines. It depends what it is for me. I don't really know that answer yet, I don't think. I think I'll get to a point where I have a process. I know a few of my friends are starting to get there. And hopefully I get to a point where I can choose the jobs, and then I think I'll have to start putting the work in. But my last the job I'm on at the moment is a comedy, and I honestly I'm there every day, but I maybe say one line a day. It is a dream, and I don't have to think too much about it. But then just because you're not doing the practical work, your head's still going mad. The anxiety doesn't leave you, and you're still freaking out about how you look or what you said, or the fact that you're not doing anything. So I think everyone must be different. I know some of my friends, they'll be fully off book before they start rehearsals or before they start shooting. They'll have a playlist with all the character songs. I don't think I've worked out what works for me yet. I think I know it sounds weird, but I think what works for me is like making friends with the cast and crew and having a nice time. I think that actually helps me. I know it sounds a bit mad.
Well, it helps you relax, doesn't it? So you can
what
just
you said was, I mean, there's a really, I'm gonna paraphrase it, but David Tennant was asked about what makes a good actor or whatever before, and he literally said basically what you've summed up in that answer, which was turn up on time. You said you were punctual, learn your lines. You said you do that, and be nice. That's it. And then you added on to that, I just like to play. And I know it's another actor's cliche, that's why it's called a play. But it's true. It's true.
Yeah. I think if I was doing theatre, it would be very different answers. But honestly, like I'm learning from the last few years in TV, it's just not that deep. Like, don't get me wrong, if I was playing the Joker or if I was playing, a real person, I'd have to put the work in. But my last few jobs, I have just been pissing about, having a nice time, and hopefully getting away with it. Because like I think you'd go a bit insane if you took it too seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, you're doing great so far.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. This podcast might be the end of me.
Callie, you told us that for one of your roles you had 7 or more rounds of auditions before you landed the part.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, why so many rounds?
Honestly, I don't know. Well, that was honestly traumatizing.
Yeah.
It's for a job. Annoyingly, I can't say what it is yet because it's not been announced. But it's my big one, It's my first lead in a TV show, and also it was like, I'm not even joking. When you read something and you're like, this is written, this is me, like this is me.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've had that before. And I mean, I think so. I taped. I went in to meet the casting. I went in then to meet the casting and the team. I then had to go back because the sound hadn't recorded on my second week, and I had to go back. And then the show is basically about a couple, and so then I spent 2 days doing chemistry reads with different actors. And then it got to the point where there's a lot of nudity in the show and a lot of sex, so we had to negotiate it before we got any further. Mm-hmm. And so it was getting to a point where we were genuinely negotiating the contract, and I still hadn't had an offer. And I think it was a week before Christmas at this point. It was 2019. It was a week before Christmas. And I was like, well, look, if I don't get an answer before offices shut for Christmas, I was like, I actually don't know if I can cope anymore, because it's happened to me once before this. And when I got the no, it was just so rough because, this was I think I started auditioning for this in October and we were now in December. And I'd started to really get on with the people, and, I was getting more and more episodes, and it was horrendous. And then I think it got to so I'd done the 2 days of chemistry testing, and they were like, surely we're going to know on Friday. I think it was now like Thursday, and they rang me Thursday night. And I think, yeah, this was like the last Friday before Christmas, and they rang me Thursday night, and they were like, look, can you come in on Friday morning? We just need to see. But they literally needed one note. I think they just needed to see her play this one scene, something in one type of way, basically. That was literally it. And then even my agent was getting a bit pissed off at that point. She was like, this is a bit ridiculous. And then, yeah, I went in on the Friday morning, did this note, left, and then thankfully that afternoon I got the yes. But I mean, normally I'm on the other side and I get the no. But honestly, I don't know why it was so long. And then when I did the job, they were like, it was always you. And I'm like,
said,
bullshit. Was always me.
I mean, I'd like to
Yeah, it was
ask you how you as an actor deal with the no's, because I think everyone finds their own way. They have almost like their post audition routine, or their post, I don't like the word rejection, I don't think it's quite right, but their post you're not right for the job email, as it were. What do you do after those no's, and how do you pick yourself up for the next one? Because for some people, I mean, you might just say, well, I just wait, it's easy, but some people really struggle and need their own thing. What helps you?
Yeah. Oh, I struggle. I mean, I think I'm actually a bit nervous to finish this job and start auditioning again, because this will be my first time without having other work. Like, so I worked at a gym literally since being a third year up until this year. And whenever I would finish a job, I would be there straight away, because I would work 8 hours and I couldn't have a phone on the reception desk. So that always helped. And I would, it would stop me checking my phone a lot because I couldn't. And also I worked with a lot of people who didn't give a shit. Like, they weren't actors and they couldn't care less about my drama. So like I'd sort of maybe talk to them and they'd forget about the whole thing, and they'd never ask me about auditions. I also, sometimes if it's a really big one, I'll go to the cinema. I think I just love the idea of physically not being able to check my phone, because I'm really bad with my phone. If I'm waiting for an answer, I'm really bad with my phone. So yeah, doing things that go to the cinema, trying to see friends. I mean, I don't know if there's any right or wrong way of dealing with it. I still find no's tough if it's a job I like, because I think a really positive thing that I do that I would recommend is I really do manifest jobs, and I actually really do tell myself I will get them. I think, again, going back to drama school, some of my friends that were amazing, talented actors, I think genuinely, I know this is maybe bullshit, but I think it didn't happen for them because they didn't actually believe it would at times. I mean, they probably do now, or they've gone through phases of believing and not. But there was always something in the back of my head where I knew I was just going to be an actor and I was going to work as an actor, and I still have that. So yeah, I've always sort of just, and so, which is a blessing in that sense, but also it's an absolute bastard in the sense that I sometimes really believe I'll get a job and then I don't, and then I feel shit. But yeah, I don't know if there's a way of dealing with it better.
That's a great answer. What sort of things do you do to manifest? Do you do sort of like gratitude things in the morning, or
No, I just sort of like,
is it just believing?
I don't know if you guys do this. I'll watch a film in the cinema and I'll put myself in it. I know that sounds
Yeah.
really, I did it from really young. I used to do it with like songs. Like, I used to listen to music and think I was the singer, like,
Yeah, I
or in
do
the
that.
music video. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll watch a film and I'll put myself in it. And I think that always is what helps actors. If you can literally pick up something and say, I can do that.
Hmm.
Whereas, again, I remember one of my friends, when she knew she was struggling, it's because she couldn't do that. She couldn't like watch something and pick a part for herself in it. And I think it's tough because you've got to back yourself, because not many other people are backing you. But yeah, I think if you manifest stuff and if you literally tell yourself you're going to get jobs, overall it will help you, but then it also does make the fall a bit harder sometimes. I mean, I don't think there's anything that's going to help, because there's some of those jobs and you deserve them as well, and it's absolute bullshit when you don't get them. But you'll get over it, because we always do in the end,
Yeah,
don't
I
we?
think you've mentioned that like
We sure do.
confidence really is sort of an actor's biggest weapon in the audition process, but
Mhm.
legitimate, genuine confidence, not cockiness. Because I think people are so
Yeah,
afraid of cockiness, they go in over modest. And then there's just an
yeah,
energy to that when
100%.
you're in an audition room or you're even on a tape that I think you can see.
Yeah. But it's such a catch-22, because like so right now, yeah, I'm probably feeling confident because I'm on a job, I'm away from home. I don't really have time to tape. So when I am doing them, they're quite rushed because I've got other things going on. And then that actually projects, this busy actor who's ready to work. But then also there's other people who aren't working. They'll work so hard on their tapes, but then it might not be that natural. I don't know. It's just such a catch-22 because that confidence for a lot of people, especially for me, it did come from working because I beat myself up when I wouldn't, and you would see it on me. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so tough. But I think my advice, one thing that helped me was when I started to actually just sort of celebrate in little victories that were nothing to do with acting. Like I really enjoyed my other part-time job. It made me so happy, and I used to really throw myself in, and I would do all these weird activities or charity events or like anything that they would organize. I would always be at the front of it, focusing on other things, and then I'd really celebrate them when they went well. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, totally. Well, we'd love to talk about a couple of the sort of big names that you've worked with that are in the acting industry. I mean, you've worked with big names from things in Britannia, The Stranger, and most recently, Dominic Cooper in Peacock, which is yet to be released. So, in your time working with some of these names like that, I know we've spoken earlier on in the podcast about, not putting these people on a pedestal, but what have you learnt from actors of, Dominic Cooper's caliber, from how they work on a set? And is there anything you've stolen from them and added to your own actor's toolkit?
Oh yeah, low. I think one of the best things about working with, like, you can't see me, but I'm doing inverted commas, like famous actors, is that you watch how they work on a set and how they treat a crew. You learn a lot from that. You learn a lot about how what they say has a weight to it, which is one thing that I definitely learned from watching people. I mean, yeah, some really good advice. I mean, I've been really blessed, like I've had really good famous people that I've worked with. No one's put me off. I recently worked on Rules of the Game with Maxine Peake, who is literally like my hero. And she used to give me such good nuggets of advice, but without being patronizing at all. I think one that happened once. So my character in Rules of the Game, she cries a lot, and I was getting sick of my own crying. And we were having this scene together, and we were like having a fag on the balcony in this scene. And the stage directions did me dirty constantly because it was always like Tess is crying, Tess is bawling her eyes out. It was all,
have you ever had the single
exactly.
tear one?
And that's the worst. And we were talking about it. And I'm not joking, I've already done like 10 scenes at this point with my character just crying. And I said to her, like, it just doesn't feel like I should be crying again in this scene. I was like, I'm sick of it. And then she told me a story about how when she was at RADA, she was doing like a Shakespeare monologue. And I think in the Shakespeare monologue, her dad had just been killed or whatever, I don't know, I can't remember. And she does this monologue, absolutely crying her eyes out, giving her best tiered performance. And her acting teacher just went, "What are you doing?" And she was like, "What?" And he was like, "Why are you crying for?" And she went, "Oh, because it's sad because the dad's died." And she went, "No, that's you feeling sympathy for the character." She was like, "The character feels no sympathy for herself in this moment. That is you as an actor feeling sympathy." And then she was like, "So maybe that's how you're feeling with this scene." And I was like, holy shit, that makes so much sense. So I was like, because I knew I wouldn't have been crying in the scene, because like, yes, everything was sad, but like she didn't feel the sadness. It was the audience having sympathy for her feeling the sadness. And I mean, that just blew my mind. So that was a good bit of advice.
That's really, really interesting.
Isn't it? Yeah, isn't it good?
You do almost.
Yeah. So she was like, there's so many times. Yeah, she said there's so many times in shows where you can tell it's, I mean, she did say mainly the actress, so that you can tell that's the actress feeling sympathy for the character rather than the character feeling sympathy for themselves.
Is that because people are reading the script?
Because it's actually quite rare.
Is that because they're reading the script from the perspective of the audience?
Probably. And the way things are written and the way we think we're supposed to perform scenes, we've all watched those ITV dramas where the wife has that one tear rolling down her face for sort of no reason. And we're like, that's actually you feeling sympathy for the character because it's a sad scene, because her husband's left her. She actually doesn't feel any sympathy for herself. And doesn't that make so much sense?
Really does.
Yeah, you can have that.
You can have that.
Yeah, there you go.
To just finish up these set of questions, I imagine we could do a full podcast on what you're working on now. And I know you can't say too much about some of the projects,
Yeah.
but is there anything you can tell us about anything coming up at all?
Oh, it's annoying because the show I'm working on at the moment is probably going to be announced very soon. But something went wrong with their press release. But I'm in Manchester, and I'm filming a really fun comedy series, which is coming out in July, I think. And then Rules of the Game and my other show are both coming out in February this year. And then we start shooting Peacock, the series, in December. So yeah, Peacock was a pilot, and now we're going to make the series in December in Liverpool.
Amazing.
That'll be really fun. And then I'll be home for Christmas, which will be lovely.
Brilliant. Congratulations. So for series 2, we have brought on this new section of our podcast. So we are going to do 10 rapid fire questions. Some of these are acting related. Some of them are a bit stupid, but we wanted to mix in there, and you've not been told what these are ahead of time because we want some real in the moment acting, as it were. So are you ready for these 10 rapid fire questions? I will be starting off the first one.
Yes,
Okay.
so ready.
So we'd like you to answer these in one sentence or less, if it's all possible. Right, here we go.
Okay.
Your greatest strength as an actor?
Turning up on time.
Ooh. If you couldn't be an actor or any role in this industry, what job would you want to do?
Maybe something in social care.
Who would you want to play you in the Callie Cooke biopic?
I mean, obviously Margot Robbie. Obviously.
What accent would you love to do faultlessly?
Scottish. I can't do a Scottish accent.
What's the one item you must
tough.
take with you when you're away filming?
So it's every possible snack and Yorkshire tea bags.
Yorkshire tea bags.
Yeah.
How many bows should an actor do at the end of a play?
Maybe 2, 1. I don't even know. I feel awkward bowing.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy.
Self-tape or in the room audition?
Self-tape.
Favorite word?
Bananas. I panicked. Sorry, I panicked.
And last but not least, what actor, alive or dead, would you love to have a drink with?
Sam Rockwell.
That's a great choice. Love that.
Amazing.
And that,
yeah, he's my
that's all 10. That was rapid fire, Callie Cooke. Thank you so much. It's been a joy talking to you this evening. And again, we'd like to reiterate how much we appreciate you taking time in your busy filming schedule to come talk to us. It was just brilliant. So we've had you in the room, Callie Cooke. We'll let you get on with the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for chatting to us today.
Thank you. See you later.